Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for this press conference regarding Johnny Wactor. Just want to thank all the members of the press for coming out, continuing to shine a light on this very, very important case, not just for Johnny, but for the whole city of LA. So we have some amazing support here today. We have Councilman Kevin DeLeon, we have Detective Moses Castillo, and we have Johnny's mother, Scarlett Wactor, and myself. I'm Micah Parker, M-I-C-A-H-P-A-R-K-E-R. So we'll make some brief statements, and then we'll take some questions from the press. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Kevin DeLeon.
Thank you very much, Micah. Let me say this: that Johnny is very lucky to have you as a friend because you have kept this going, and the weight of this, the stress, the sadness, the depression, the heaviness of it all, it's easy for it to just start ebbing and losing momentum. And you have single-handedly, here in Los Angeles, kept the momentum alive, separate from what law enforcement, is involved in right now. But I just want to recognize that and thank you very much. You're an incredible friend. If we can all of us have friends like you, we'd be in a better place. So thank you very much. Good morning to each and every one of you. We are here today because a senseless, brutal crime took the life of Johnny Wactor, a young man who had so much more to give. His death has sent shockwaves through our community, reminding us all that the fight for justice and safety in our city is far from over. As I stand here with his mother, who came all the way outside of Charleston, South Carolina, from the East Coast to Los Angeles, Scarlett Wactor, and his cousin, Sierra, as well, who's a nurse at the Children's Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. His dear friend, Micah Parker, I want to express my deepest condolences once again to Johnny's families, his friends here in Los Angeles, all of his loved ones in his beloved native South Carolina. I want you to know that I'm with you, Scarlett, in this fight, and I will not rest until those responsible for this heinous act are brought to justice. Early this year, I created a heavy metal task force to combat the rampant theft of copper wire and bronze that has been plaguing our city. This task force was born out of a commitment to protect our communities from escalating crime that targets the very infrastructure that we rely on as a city. The Heavy Metal Task Force builds on the success of the Catalytic Converter Theft Task Force, which I established previously. That task force worked in close coordination with federal officials and successfully dismantled a major crime ring involved in these thefts. These efforts, I want to underscore, are not just about property, copper wire, or catalytic converters. I want to be clear, they're about people like Johnny Wactor. I want to be clear, these crimes are not victimless. A life was taken, so young and so full of life, Johnny Wactor. Johnny's murder is a tragic and painful reminder of this fact. A young man's life was stolen because of a few dollars worth of metal that they didn't even end up taking themselves when they wanted to steal the catalytic converter. This is unacceptable, regardless of which point you're on the political spectrum, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, or points in between. That's irrelevant to this equation. That's completely irrelevant. Right now, we're here for Johnny Wactor because we all collectively want justice. These crimes tear at the fabric of our community. They rip our families and our friends apart, and we must do everything in our power to stop them. I want to assure everyone that both the Catalytic Converter Task Force and the Heavy Metal Task Force are working closely with the Central Bureau Division and Homicide Division, which is leading the investigation into Johnny's murder. We are pooling resources, intelligence, and every tool at our disposal to track down these criminals and ensure that they face the full brunt of the law. Johnny's life was taken far too soon, but his memory will not fade and his life will not be forgotten. I promise you, Scarlett, that I won't forget Johnny, nor will we in the city of LA forget Johnny. The impact this tragedy has had on his family and all of his incredible close friends. We will pursue justice relentlessly and will make sure that those responsible are held accountable for their actions. We will bring them to justice and will restore safety to our streets and will make sure that no family has to endure the pain that Scarlett is enduring today. His brothers, his family members back in South Carolina, all of his friends and loved ones here in Los Angeles. We want justice for Johnny, and we shall have it sooner rather than later. Thank you very much, everybody. Gracias a todos.
Thank you so much, Councilman. I'd now like to welcome to the podium Detective Moses Castillo, retired LAPD, and Marcy's Law representative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Moses Castillo. That's M-O-S-E-S, Castillo, C-A-S-T-I-L-L-O. I'm coming alongside as a Marcy's Law representative, which is a victim's advocate for the Wactor family. We are here today because about 2 weekends ago, the Los Angeles Police Department Operation Central Bureau Homicide released images from a video surveillance footage that captured these suspects and the suspect's vehicle. So we're asking for anybody that has any information about these suspects and or that vehicle to please come forward. You could do that anonymously at Crime Stoppers. You could do that anonymously at lacrimestoppers.org or 1-800-222-TIPS. Crime Stoppers is a great resource for anyone who wants to report this information anonymously, and Crime Stoppers will give you a reward if it leads to an arrest. We just do not know the amount of that reward because it's up to Crime Stoppers. The way it works is you call this number, 1-800-222-TIPS, or you go to the LA Crime Stoppers application or website. Once you submit that tip, you will be issued an electronic ID number that's only known to you, no one else. Not the police, not the detectives, not even Crime Stoppers. It's a blind number issued to you. You take that number and then you monitor the case, but what's beautiful about this particular number and that application, you could actually communicate to the detectives directly because your tip gets forwarded to the detectives assigned to the case, and if they have a question for you as a follow-up question, they'll send you a message electronically. You take that, then you have a dialogue going back and forth. How do I know that? I used that application many times in my career when I was with the LAPD. It works. That's why we are very hopeful that now that we know that we're looking for these 3 suspects that are portrayed in those images and that vehicle, somebody knows something. Somebody talked, somebody heard. Even if you're not even sure, you just report it because you know, no matter how great of a detective we are at LAPD, we always need that extra help from the public. So please, if you know anything, please come forward. Ahora voy a repetir esto en español para la audiencia en español. Mi nombre es Moisés Castillo. Soy detective jubilado de la Policía de Los Ángeles y estoy aquí como el defensor de derechos para las víctimas por la familia Wactor. Queremos que miren estas imágenes del video de las cámaras de seguridad que la Policía de Los Ángeles mostró hace 2 semanas, las imágenes de estos sospechosos y el carro que ellos andaban manejando. Si usted sabe algo de este caso, por favor, no se detenga. Llame a la policía y también lo puede hacer anónimamente a 1-800-222 la palabra TIPS, T-I-P-S. Ahí puede dar toda su información y hablar con los detectives también anónimamente si usted lo desea. So again, We will continue to fight for justice, and we're also advocating for all of the applicable criminal charges that apply to this case that the DA's office would also file when that time comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. I'd like to welcome Scarlett Wactor to the podium, Johnny's mother.
My name is Scarlett Wactor. I'm Johnny's mother. I guess I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but grief is my constant companion. He promised me he'd be here with me today. I can't wish him happy birthday on August 31st. He would have been 38. I can't ask if he's coming home for Christmas. I can't ask how his day went, if he's going to climb. I don't get any of those things anymore because of what these people did. For a catalytic converter that they did not get, they feel very emboldened. What hits me by Anita's story when she repeats it is they were laughing and talking, walking down the sidewalk. This means they were heard. There was no fear. They didn't care. And then when the media says he confronted, I don't like that word. He simply thought he was being towed and said, "This is my car, what are you doing?" Put his hands out and to the side and backed up when they looked up and he saw they had a mask on. He was not confronting or being combative or anything. And they shot him. He was dead within 3 minutes, right there on that street. Closed down businesses. I know why they've left. I mean, why would you stay when you can steal anything under a certain amount, $900 and some? Where's the rights for the victims? Where's the care for them? This community needs safety. They should be guaranteed safety. The victims need to be thought of. I talked to a friend of Gascon's and I asked, "Do you think what you're doing is working?" He said, "No, we know it's not working." And then he gave me an example. I asked him to, lower that felony threshold. And he said, "Well, if an 18-year-old steals a bike, do you want that felony to follow him around for the rest of his life?" I don't care. Put him in jail for 3 years. Call it whatever you want. Maybe he won't steal the bike. But not once did he say or think, what if it was the victim's only mode of transportation? There is no care or concern for the victims. It's all about for the criminal, and what they've created is a pro-criminal atmosphere. It's just giving them the go-ahead. You're going to have a time to vote in November. You need to read about the people. Do not vote straight ticket. Look at what each one of them stand for. Look at what they've done in the past. Read the propositions. Don't just vote blindly. Okay, this looks good. Read it. Understand what it is. You've got to change it. You have the Olympics coming. They'll clean up the area they want them to see. But what happens after that for the law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, the people that live here? Murder is wrong. Theft is wrong. It doesn't matter your color, your financial background, right, left, middle. Even the criminals don't want to be murdered and have their stuff stolen. I mean, think about it. You have got to stand up. If you don't, it's never going to change. Johnny's death will have been in vain. And it's wrong. And other cities like this that allow this to happen and have just let the criminals do what they want, they need to change as well. But it needs to start with LA. People watch you from across the country, and this is where change needs to start. I thank you for all of your time, and I'm asking that anybody that knows anything, please come forward. It will help me and his brothers in our healing to know that they've been captured and convicted, and the strongest penalty. So I'm begging you, please call. Please give them any information you know. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here once again. On the morning of May 25th, the world changed for Scarlett, for Grant, for Lance, for Sierra, for his family, and all of his friends. One thing we can never forget is that Johnny died a hero on that morning when he stepped in front of Anita Joy and took a thief's bullet for his friend. Fulfilling that greatest act of love. Johnny was an inspiration to me in life as a friend, and now, even though he's not here in the flesh, I can feel him calling on me, his community, and his city to step up and be better. I want to be more like my friend. Johnny was a relentless force of life. And the first time I spoke to Grant after Johnny was killed, that's what his brother Grant described him as. That was the first word, relentless. And that stuck with me. Relentlessness. So I've made a vow, as has Scarlett and his friends, that we'll be relentless now in fighting for him. But the thing about Johnny, as I mentioned, it was that he was selfless. He would never settle for a good life for himself. He would always, just for himself, he would always seek to make life better for his friends or for the perfect stranger he met on the street. So that's what we're doing now. We're fighting for him, of course, but Johnny was a victim of a failed system, of a breakdown in public safety here in Los Angeles. So in fighting for him, we're now fighting for the citizens, all citizens of Los Angeles. What happened to Johnny could have happened to anyone, and it will continue to happen if public safety is not prioritized and criminals not held responsible for their crimes. You know, there used to be a saying, as goes California, so goes the nation. I don't think they're saying that right now. At least I hope not. I don't think anybody wants to experience what we're experiencing here in LA. Look what we have to deal with. We walk the streets in fear and anxiety, not knowing when it's going to be us on one of these posters. No, we're not the example right now. And if you think we are, then you're delusional. So I think that the leaders of this city and this state should take a good, hard look and ask themselves if that's what they want their legacy to be. Los Angeles is facing a public safety crisis. This tragic murder is not an isolated incident. It's a reflection of the rising violence in our city, and we cannot continue to stand by as our streets become more dangerous by the day. Responsibility. Taking responsibility means looking at your own inadequacies and addressing them. And that's what we need our leaders to do, to take responsibility and ownership and admit that they are not doing enough. The pendulum has swung too far with this soft on crime social experiment, and it's not working. So now every day Angelenos are being affected by crime on a daily basis. So we're calling on Mayor Bass to step up. We're not here to attack you. We're here to help you. We're here to back you. We're here to work with you. But we need strong leadership on this. I've said it a million times, but it's true. The first step in addressing a problem is admitting that there's a problem. Well, Mayor Bass, we have a problem. Stop ignoring it. Stop pretending like everything is okay. As Scarlett mentioned, the Olympics are going to be here in 4 years. How do we want the world to be introduced to LA once again on the world stage? Because right now it's an embarrassment. I love this city, but that's true. You know, we hear our leaders, our mayor, talk about things like a car-free city. Well, first we need a crime-free city in LA. That's what's most important. But with that said, we're here today to demand more than just words from our leaders. We need real systematic change to address the root causes of crime in our city. This means better funding for community programs, stronger law enforcement presence, which means better funding, task forces to address specific crimes, but most importantly, a commitment in making Los Angeles a safer place for everyone. I also call on City Council to double down on the work that Councilman De Leon has done with the Heavy Metal Task Force that includes a converter unit. This specialized unit needs to be expanded citywide. Right now it's only in this district. We need to expand that citywide. So to the city council members, and you know who you are, who continue to vote against support for law enforcement, to vote against public safety measures, we know who you are as well. And we're going to hold you accountable. We also need to expect more out of ourselves and each other as a community. There should be no reason why the bar is lowered so that criminals are treated as victims. No, we need to hold everyone to the same standard of law and order. So we call on DA Gascon to reinstate sentencing enhancements, to prosecute criminals, to set an example of what happens when you break the law here. But instead of that, we have a soft-on-crime system that has enabled criminals to run the streets. It's unacceptable, and someone needs to be held responsible. The criminals and those who have enabled them. Enough is enough. Now, finally, I urge the public to get involved and to demand action. We cannot do this alone. We need your voice. We can't just stand idly by wishing that things were better. We need to get out there and make them better. As was mentioned, I'm sure you're all aware, the LAPD released surveillance images of the suspects in Johnny's murder last week. So we're once again calling on the public and asking for help. If you recognize these individuals, please come forward. Also, if you or anyone you know is a victim of catalytic converter theft, this is very important. You must report the crime. It doesn't matter what your insurance company says. You need to report it. We need to track these cases. We need to map the data so law enforcement can address these issues. Also, if you're a victim of the crime, you have some sort of footage of the act. People have been sending us footage of different acts of this catalytic converter theft. So if you have footage of that, if you have photos, please report that information. You never know what's going to crack the case. So speaking of getting involved, the Justice for Johnny movement is just the beginning. We're committed to seeing this through, not only to find Johnny's killers, but to ensure that no other family has to suffer it the way his has. In addition to seeking justice for Johnny, we've established a nonprofit to fight against the violence plaguing our city. So I urge everyone to visit www.justiceforjohnnyWactor.com to support this nonprofit, whether by donating, volunteering, or simply sharing our mission. Your support will help us build a safer community and honor Johnny's legacy by working to ensure no one has to face the same pain. So let me wrap this up again by asking for Mayor Bass to step up to the plate as the head executive here in this city to address these issues, to correct the system, to clean up the streets, to stop crime, to hold her subordinates responsible and accountable, and to pressure other departments to get the job done. And not to stop until the results are substantially and anecdotally felt by every citizen in this city. No matter your race, your gender, your socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. Mayor Bass, we're here to work with you, and we'll be waiting on your reply. Thank you so much. So we'll take some questions. Yes. Yes, Micah Parker, M-I-C-A-H, organizer of Justice for Johnny. Parker, P-A-R-K-E-R. I've known Johnny for 12 years. We met originally in acting class up in North Hollywood and developed a brotherhood bond and worked on movies together, just a brotherhood. Yeah. So any questions from the media? We have all of us standing by.
Are you satisfied with LAPD's investigation into this? I know these surveillance photos were released last week. What do you feel like, or do you feel like they're doing a substantial job?
Listen, I support LAPD wholeheartedly, and I do trust that they're working extremely hard to crack this case. With the images that were released, it was a glimpse. It was a little taste of something that gave us hope. But I'm cautiously optimistic, to be honest with you. Cautiously. We want more. We want arrests, but more than anything, we want a conviction. So things like this is very important to keep that public pressure on so that this case does not go cold. Yes. wholeheartedly agree, and that's why we're here today. Is that, you know, Mayor Bass, she has a bully pulpit. She can use her platform. We saw it with the task force for the smash and grabs, and we can accomplish much, much more. But again, we can't pretend like there's not a problem. Can't just keep posting smiling photos all over the world when this city's in crisis. So step up to the plate, step up to the podium with us, and admit that there's a problem and commit to addressing these issues. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm sorry?
What do you think about Trump having the ability to still, that he's still on topic? You guys said Trump,
Yeah, we want to stick to this case right here. We want to, thank you so much. We want to stick to this case right here.
Can we address the face tattoos and calling on the police to remove those?
Yes, so just was brought up to me as well that it was released that these criminals, the one responsible for the murder, has a tattoo, one above his left eye and one on his right cheek. So we would like to see better photos. We want to know if the LAPD has additional photos of the suspects that they would mind releasing, but just wanted to make that clear, that identifying marks, tattoo above the left eye, tattoo on the right cheek. Any other questions? I can speak to you, sir. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Scarlett and Moses, Councilman Kevin DeLeon, to all of his friends. Thank you so much.